This is Carol Manetta, and I'm recording this webinar at the request of Andy Mason, who is from the Southwest Agroforestry Action Network. Thank you, Andy Mason, for inviting me to speak on behalf of Reap Goodness, our nonprofit. Today we'll explain the details of our continuing new program, one that's never been attempted in history, but has merit as its basis. The Earth needs us now, and climate change is real. In assessing the current situation, we must listen to the many coordinated scientists who report to the United Nations. It's through their collective reports we now know that climate change and wildlife habitats are in danger for the foreseeable future. Plus, farmable land will continue toward desertification and be gone in 60 years. It's through these collective reports of desertification continuing to take place at the rate of the size of the state of Pennsylvania every year, and has been for a long time, that the Reap Goodness program was derived. Conventional and animal agriculture are now known to be the greatest contributors to freshwater contamination and depletion worldwide. To counter this devastating trend, we choose freshwater decontamination, storage underground and in tanks, and perennial agriculture through food forestry. All these physical practices are evidence-based and proven in tiny pockets around the world, even in profound deserts. What we're developing training for is the trios of cooperatives whose work will quickly blanket the earth with those proven practices. It's the joining of nature into the scheme of food forestry and clean waters around them that will create harmonious earth health, combined with the intention to bring health to people, something we have a great concern for right now. It's feasible to quickly restore earth, providing treatment through nature and to humans in turn. We're a part of nature, and most people living in cities crave the getaways that remind them of that. They come back to their work refreshed and ready to tackle the day's needs. It's a treatment to serve nature via the workers who support nature. This can be done quickly through trios of worker-owned cooperatives. Let's see how this can work. Here we see the beginning of a planning model showing the need as previously stated. The analysis was conducted by extensive research over 12 years through national and international governmental and scientific research. Commitment involved securing land south of Tucson by an engineering department head at Arizona State University, and eventually brought this year's ISPI Community Service Award to bring talented volunteers to contribute to the plan. The ISPI is the International Society for Performance Improvement, of which I am a member. The organization has members in 53 countries now, and the last 2 community service awards were granted to organizations in China. The design flow culminates in 3 training ebooks and a virtual reality overview of the program for all stakeholders who will be involved. Virtual reality is a good tool for 2 reasons. One, it can be seen on a smartphone with conversion by a free app on Google Play and only requires download of the information file. Therefore, it can be seen even in remote areas where Wi-Fi does not exist. And 2, the program is highly spatial and involves a sweeping change of the environment. The first drafts of outlines for all 4 products have been recorded already. It's Reap Goodness's intention to trial the training materials in 2 stages. Trial 1 includes students from American universities who are already knowledgeable in the proven activities of water reclamation and storage, plus agroforestry. Their activities will center on the usage of the training materials to forge test alliances of a trio of worker-owned cooperatives for feedback and adjustment of the training materials. It's this Trial 1 effort that ISPI is contributing to with good work from its experienced volunteers, 3 of them, each with over 30 years experience. With this Trial 1 evaluated and approved, the second trial will be undertaken by university students from 3 other continents in addition to North America. In their separate locations, they'll convene via Facebook and Zoom meetings, both of which have global reach. Comparisons of each other's alliances will include language barrier evaluation and adjustment according to customs, in addition to foliage and food differences. All of these will be translation inclusions. It's the ease with which trios of cooperatives are formed and run smoothly that will determine the speed of worldwide reclamation of fresh waters, water storage, and food security through permaculture or agroforestry. Without a concerted effort, the trials will need further adjustment in a hurry. With science in mind, if we are not successful in large-scale nature changes within 5 years, it's too late. After the second trial, the virtual reality overview and first ebooks will be published. From there, university students proficient in language studies will perform quality translations. The goal is 30 languages to be able to blanket the globe with the knowledge on how to do this work quickly enough to mitigate the worst of droughts and hunger around the world. Disaster will be avoided by humble, cost-effective means, by boots on the ground, equitable labor. The photo shows at the top left a swale or water catchment ditch being dug on a slope and tested with water to make certain it's level so the water will stay in place during a rain. The dirt from the ditch is purposefully placed on the lower lip of the swale to retain water during rainfall. Please notice a couple of feet down the slope is a previously dug swale with a variety of young plants already growing on it. The graphic at the top right is a cross-section of a swale and how the water is stored inside the ground, where much more water can be stored than in a tank. The earth is like a giant sponge, storing the water below surface until it hits bedrock and fills the slope. Like a sponge that drips when it's too full of water, when the slope is too full, it creates a spring at the bottom. That's how all hillside springs are born around the world. This is how underground water sources can be restored. The dirt that's piled on the lower lip of the swale is then covered with mulch and planted with trees. The stored water will then support the planting of food forests, starting with trees. The bottom illustration is from the U.S. Department of Energy. It shows in detail how water can be captured from roofs, then filtered and stored in tanks for use inside homes and other buildings. The worker cooperative devoted to water capture and storage will know how to do this, as well as teach all these methods on the high school and college levels. Water Reclamation is the second cooperative of the trio. Using nature as a source of inspiration, these hardy souls will be taking on the role of developers of continuous streams, ponds, and rivers with fresh, clean water as the outcome. Breaching divides of haves and have-nots with fresh water is the norm for all humans and a basic right of all wild animals for their entire lifetime. It's here that natural plantings can rectify what humans have damaged over the course of industrialization. Also, techniques of river restoration with microbes and their combinations can cure the algae blooms with precision of pH balance and their known toxic cleansing abilities, or bioremediation. Another system of recovery is to work with volunteers worldwide, and we're very excited about this. And we're going to work with those volunteers to plant native habitat plants along roadway ditches to clean waters after a rain and supply local small wildlife with life-saving food. This way, restoring nature will be a snap for restoring habitats everywhere in a hurry, worldwide. This illustration comes from a set of agroforestry templates published under the Creative Commons and funded by a grant from the State of Iowa's Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. It shows the typical 7 layers of plants grown in a food forest, mimicking the 7 layers found in old-growth forests worldwide. It shows tall, overstory trees, usually native trees, and nut trees planted first. Then come smaller fruit trees, fruit and leafy shrubs or bushes, herbs and leafy perennial vegetables, edible perennial ground plants, then root vegetables, and climbing vines like grapes that climb the trees. This standard format is varied by temperature and sunlight requirements in each location. This is the realm of the third worker cooperative trio. The next generation of value creation. Allowances for current circumstances in mind, it's time to begin anew with a bright, new, shiny model for working in harmony together. It starts with setting goals together based on detailed, visualized outcomes to guide our every movement. We have a lengthy list of detailed visions as outcomes that we are using as our ultimate guide for success of this program. To set the goals together, we guide one another as to process by agreement at the outset. This list of operating or process agreements starts with the agreement to agree and how disagreements can be handled within group determined limits. This is the operational base of all worker-owned cooperatives. As everyone wishes to be heard, all temperaments can be adjusted within agreed upon limits. If only one cooperative's work is desired by a local community, all agree that is the plan. If all 3 co-ops are needed, then all 3 agree to move forward with that plan. Continuance shares 2 common things: a good idea and its need for repetition in the long run. If a new direction is needed or stopped when the timing is right, the living outcomes will speak for themselves above all else. Now, becoming immobile or stuck in place means stagnation of the nation. Instead, the mainstay of this dynamic program is its planned exponential growth via universities, starting in the US and quickly gravitating to other countries. Replications can be taught with our translated training ebooks, and all data sets can be recorded for publication, university recognition, and permanent local successes. The trios of cooperatives will blanket the earth with renewed nature, healthy food, and waters. Rewards. Astounding methods bringing fruition is what is planned. Here we list but a few of them. First, a refreshed planet. Next, a combination of food security and fresh water consumption forever from the point of their creation. Third, methods of local rain creation, with trees being the creators. Fourth, increased local harmonies with people working in well-trained groups for all local peoples. Fifth, less painful changes around the future of food consumption with plant-based foods galore to replace destructive forms of farming. Bringing home the idea that positive outcomes are a reward, assessing our goals around food forestry with clean and abundant fresh water will require testing, data recording, and adjustments along the way. This is anticipated in any operation system. Each step of the way will test compatibility with the trios of cooperatives together and separately, and with local economies, systems, and political will for this program to thrive. Reaching peak optimization in all three of these will be the reward. Envisioning a future with plump-cheeked children, healthy and vibrant for their lifetime on Earth, is the utmost reward and a driver, a motivator, to begin and carry out our intended goals. Looking back on this set of trial phases and seeing how successes will look at the end of the road is a reward in itself. Evaluation will show a rewarding effort in the spread of worker cooperatives trios having met the goals set out in the original vision. Can you think of a better reward? Next steps. Listening to others' assessment of the idea of a trio of cooperatives, we choose to forge a new future with certainty that this configuration will work. The idea arises from a collection of evidence-based practices engaged in rectifying Earth's greatest troubles right now and in the foreseeable future. This future includes clean waters, storage of needed fresh water around the world, and food that is never to be scarce again. The aid needed now comes in these forms: university alignment and participation, guaranteed income for all participants, to trial these proven practices and put into a new system, and assistance with formation of a clear set of data for reporting to government, universities, and the general public. We're looking at a few universities right now: Colorado State University, Plymouth State University in New Hampshire. We've had an introduction to a connection at University of California, Davis, and that was taking place, and Arizona State University with an engineer and master gardener, and more being contacted at the time COVID-19 hit. Supports needed will come from social media, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and other public relations in mass campaign efforts. The organizations related to food production and water storage in particular will be levers of information to take this to other countries during the second phase trial. There are consortia related to these subjects who have yet to be discovered in other countries, and our next trial will depend on this reporting support. Press coverage through press organizations is not to be taken lightly in the age of social media. Instead, the arrival of good material, especially in video form, will speed spreading the positive outcomes to the trials. There's no time to waste. Low-cost materials will need support from foundations, individuals, and governments to create widespread usage and any updates needed in subsequent editions as data rolls in. Outcomes galore are needed to prove the existence of trios of cooperatives, since the concept is so new. The Earth needs us now, and these outcomes, as they're reported, we will include celebrations along the way. Seeing is believing, and high times will be had by all for the duration of the rest of Earth's future. We guarantee it. When this was first presented, there were requests for further information. So please, for further information, and you can find some at our website, which is reapgoodness.org. And also you can reach out to me, Carol Manetta, at cmanetta@reapaz.org. I thank you very much for listening to this presentation and hope it inspires you. And I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.